What's up, guys? My name is Michael Bordenero. Welcome to my YouTube channel if you're new here. Today I'm going to talk about how the big banks screw you and which ones you can be using instead for free. So make sure you stick around through the whole video and get all of this information. That way you can stop paying to bank. So basically, if you're using one of the big banks, and I'm talking like Bank of America, Citi, Wells Fargo, Chase, and there's plenty of others, but if you're using one of those big banks, there's a good chance that they're reaching into your pocket and taking your hard-earned money every single month, whether you realize it or not. And so what I recommend you do is to use one of these other alternatives instead. And how this worked out for me was when I first moved to Miami, I actually opened a student checking account with Bank of America, and I was able to qualify for this account because I was in real estate school at the time, and that was good enough for them to consider me a student. And so I was able to get a checking account that really was free for me back then. But a few years later, once I wasn't a student anymore and I got a little bit older, they automatically upgraded me to a different type of account. And that's when I was first introduced to the idea that the less money you have, the more money the bank will take from you. And so what I ended up doing was I closed that checking account a long time ago because I refused to pay the banks to keep my money with them. So if this sounds like the situation that you're in, pay attention because I got some good information for you here. The very first bank that I recommend is Discover Bank. And I recommend this one because I actually use this one myself, and I think they're very good. Ever since I've had Discover, since maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I haven't had to pay a single dime to use this bank. They've never taken any money out of my account for any fees. They've never charged me for anything. And one of the best things is they literally charge for nothing. You can get your checks for free. You can use 60,000 ATMs for free. They'll replace your debit card. You can do an ACH transfer. They'll also send you a free bank check, which usually costs like $15 at other banks. Very expensive, like a cashier's check. There's no monthly maintenance fee. Almost all of these big banks have one of these monthly maintenance fees. And basically, they're robbing you, because if you don't have enough money in the bank, then they're just going to take money out of your account because you don't have enough. Funny how that works, right? If you're already rich, the bank will pay you a ton of money, but if you don't have any money, then they'll just keep taking it from you. And sometimes those minimums are, unrealistic for a lot of people. Sometimes they're $500 or $1,500. So you can see here in this comparison table from Discover, these are all of the features that they have that these other banks don't. Now you see some of these big banks do have some of these things for free, like the online bill pay, and Citibank will give you some checks for free. They'll replace the debit card on a couple of them. But as far as the no monthly maintenance fee on the account, to me that's the real big one, because all of the big banks have that. And you can check this for yourself here. If you just go to discoverbank.com, you can find this chart for yourself, and you can put your bank in here. So say you have US Bank and not Chase, and instead of Citibank, maybe you have Wells Fargo. So we can see here a direct comparison. All of these banks still can't hold a candle compared to Discover when it comes to the fees. They will all take your money. And the funny thing is that those big banks like US Bank, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and so on, they're all trying to push their customers to start banking online anyhow. They give you the app. They have all these things now where you can just do mobile banking. So if in order to actually use one of those banks nowadays is almost like nonsense. I mean, why would you want to use a big bank? What is the advantage to it? To me, the only advantage to using a big bank is the fact that they have a physical location. So if you still like to bank old school and you want to go into the bank and cash your paycheck every Friday, or make a withdrawal now and then and actually talk to a teller, then I can see maybe why you would want to have that. But to be honest, it's one of those outdated things, It's kind of like having a VCR in your house. All the big banks are pushing their customers to go online, and there's so many great online banks like Discover that offer all of the same services for free. So I highly recommend you check Discover out. And here's just another chart right here that they have for no hidden fees. Some of these banks do have some of those features, as you can see, but none of them have all of the features that Discover has, especially the official bank check. This costs money at every bank. They will charge anywhere between $10 and $15 for this. I know because I have done a lot of real estate deals, and I go to the bank sometimes with my clients to get one of those checks, and they charge every single time. It is not free to get one. So it's nice to have that feature. And the only other thing that I can tell you, besides not having a physical account that's different, is you also can't deposit cash. Like when you go to a physical branch, you can deposit cash, and a lot of times you can even do it at one of their ATMs as well. So if that's you and you work a lot with cash, then unfortunately you're probably going to be stuck with one of these big banks. But who knows, maybe it's just a matter of time before the online banks start competing with that as well. Okay, so besides Discover, I also recommend that you can check out Chime Banking. This is a new bank for me. I have not used them personally, but it looks like they have very good setup, just like Discover does. They do have no unnecessary fees forever. Just like any other bank, there will be some sort of fee if you break one of their rules, but compared to the amount of rules that the other banks have, just by looking at this chart here, I mean, it's insane. Overdraft fee, $35. Minimum balance, $500. Monthly maintenance, $12 to $23. All of these things that really hit you the hardest with the traditional big banks are all free with this type of an account. And that's really the main advantage to using an online checking or savings account. I didn't really talk much about the savings accounts because that's not really what this video is about. It's more just to show you the big difference in fees and how much money you could potentially save in the long run by using one of these online banks versus one of the big banks. And the benefit is too that if you do want a savings account, the online savings account will traditionally offer you a much better interest rate. I mean, most of them are around 2% nowadays, but even though that's not a great number, it's still a lot better than the 0.01 or 0.02 or whatever the big banks offer. So these are the two banks that I would recommend right off the bat. Like I said, I use Discover. I've never used Chime, but I would give it a try if I was looking for a new bank today. So I would give both of these banks a try. Take a look at them, see which one you think is going to work better for you. Personally, I think Discover is better, even just from this right here. They just have more ATMs, worldwide that you can use versus this bank. So that's a big plus in case you want to get cash somewhere. So in my opinion, Discover is really the best one that's out there as far as really paying nothing to have the account. And that's the best thing. You can drop your account balance down to zero. You can withdraw everything from your account, and they're not going to start charging you, for that. And to me, that's how a bank should work. And that's why I wanted to make this video for you guys, because unfortunately, the big banks have just taken advantage too long for too many people. And I only have one account left with the Bank of America. It's my business checking account, and that has some minimum fees and things like that as well. Luckily, they're being waived because I'm meeting some of their requirements. But in the future, I really am considering switching to a different bank for all of my banking needs and being done with Bank of America for good. Now guys, another thing I want to mention about these big banks is, besides the fact that they steal money from you every month, and when you just need basic banking services like the cashier's check, or you need to have new checks in order to pay bills, whatever it might be, besides those things, another really important thing I wanted to mention is most of these online banks, they have way better customer support in my opinion and in my experience over any of the big banks. For example, earlier today, I had to call Bank of America to get access to my checking account online, and I tried calling them, and I was on hold for over 9 minutes and still couldn't get anyone on the phone. Anytime I've had to call Discover in the past, literally within less than 60 seconds, I'm speaking to a real person who's really helping me with my real problem. And that is the reality. So guys, wake up. Stop using these big banks. The way the world works is you are voting every time you buy a product or service. And by refusing to use these banks, you're giving them a huge middle finger and saying, you know what, I'm not going to take this shit anymore. I'm not going to pay you my hard-earned money. I'm going to go with somebody else that's going to give the same service for free. And that's the only way we have power as a consumer in this world. You know, everything is driven so hard by these huge companies and all of these big banks. They have so much power, but the one thing they can't control is the fact that there are many other options out there for you, and it's up to you, the consumer, to get smart and start using some of these options that will save you a ton of money in the long run. Thank you for watching. Check out some more of my videos, and I'll see you guys in the next video.